because you're always trying to get a read. I mean, we could go into a little bit of poker strategy. You're trying to get a read on the person, and that's where my acting background was good. I was good at reading people because emotions. I had been in acting classes since I was that young, 9, 10 years old. So I was good at managing my emotions and also throwing people off. I could make it happen to where it seemed natural. If I looked a little stressed, I could do it in such a way where I'm really not stressed. I got you. I got you right now. You're drawing dead. I got a full house. I got quads on you. But I'd make it seem like maybe I don't. And it's subtle, very subtle, because the second you overdo it and you try to act stressed or whatever, typically now that's a tell. That means that you have a big hand and you're trying to look stressed. So there's a fine line. And if you can walk that fine line, you could be a top player.
So what would you do if you got a bad hand?
Fold. What kind of question is that, Graham?
No.
Bluff.
What are you talking about?
You got
Jack?
options. So you got Jack's option and you got Graham's option.
I know what Jack would do now. We ever play.
we got
play
you
poker.
now.
Yeah, we got you.
Know.
All in. I'm all in on that.
I play poker. I play poker with Anthony. Sometimes you'd have the worst hands, but go all in, and you would just immediately like, I don't even want to mess with this.
That's because you probably play super tight. So knowing who Graham is, he probably plays super tight.
Well, this is great because what we're getting to is you can't be scared money. This is another great point. So that money, if that's your rent money on the line, you're screwed. You're in bad shape because also you're going to know what the decision, 9 times out of 10, even as a beginning player, you're going to have that intuition. You know what the right decision is. Can you pull the trigger? You know you should go all in against Jack and make him fold. Can you do it? What if that's the rent money? You're going to say to yourself, I know I should pull the trigger because I can get him to fold, but what if I'm wrong? There's a 1% chance he has, even though I'm 99% sure, and you can't do it and you fold. That means, by the way, you're playing too high stakes or you shouldn't be playing at all.
Yeah.
Don't be scared money. I've killed people. Not literally, but I've killed them financially. The people you smoke are typically scared money. Whoa, they're in bad shape. Because if you're not, you're going to be making all the right, you make all the right decision. I'm not all the right, but like you're going to follow through on what you think is the right decision far more than they are.
Have you ever seen someone lose a huge hand and then just freak out?
Yeah. Definitely, I've been called every name in the book, probably most names in the book, by people who, usually it's when you put a bad beat on someone. So a bad beat would be, want to do it one more time? I got the kings and you have the aces pre-flop. You're 80% to win that hand if we get all the money in pre-flop. By the way, pre-flop means like in Texas Hold'em. And by the way, we're talking about no limit Texas Hold'em here. That's the game. That's the Cadillac of poker. That's all I really ever played. There are many other games, and a lot of the top players play a multitude of games. They're really cool games. But in No Limit Texas Hold'em, pre-flop means that all of us, if it's the 3 of us, let's say we're 3-handed, which means just 3 of us at a table, we each get 2 community cards. Well, Graham, let's say, folds. I raise, Graham folds, and now it goes to you. You go all in. And I go, well, I have kings. And that would be, I have 2 kings because those are my 2 cards. You have 2 aces. And we get it all in. You're 80% to win with the aces. If I crack your aces, so let's say I flop a king. And the flop is the first 3 cards. So let's say it's king, 5, deuce. And then the run out, like the turn and river. So there will end up being 5 community cards total. And let's say the turn is a 3 and the river's a 10. Okay, nothing much happened there other than I hit my king. So I made a set of kings, 3 kings, trip kings, and I cracked your aces because you only ended up, you're going to play the top 5 cards. Out of the total 7 cards, you're going to play the 5 highest cards. I'm going to obviously play my 3 kings. You can only play your 2 aces. You didn't improve. So your pair of aces loses to trip king, so I beat you. You might freak out. I don't know.
How would you freak out?
You
Why?
might.
Because it was like statistically very improbable.
Right.
Yeah.
But it happened. That reminds me of one time where I was playing and I was dealt pocket queens, and I kept raising the pot because like the flop came and I still had the best hand. They were all significantly lower, no chance of a straight, no chance of a flush, and I raised a little bit, and then it went around. Most people folded, and then it was like me and this one other guy after like the turn came or whatever. Like then it was just me and this one other guy.
Okay.
And
Heads up.
Yeah, and it was heads up.
Okay.
And I was feeling good, and I raise again.
Yeah.
And so I think I had raised 3 times, pre-flop, flop, and then the turn or whatever. And then so 4 cards are out, and then what happens? Like I said, I raised. He called, and then the final card came, and it was a king.
Okay.
And I was like, okay.
So he rivered a king?
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so what's happening now?
Oh, no.
And then I'm like, okay. And then I go, check. And then he goes, check. And then he turns it over and he has like king 7 offsuit. And I show my cards, and I was devastated. I knew he had won too. I knew it as soon as the king came. And I remember I was like, and I leaned back in my chair. And I leaned back a little too far, where the entire chair just fell over backwards in the dead quiet poker room. Oh. No one's talking. It's just me. And I lean back, and the entire chair just topples over.
How did it feel to lose $1?
This was like, no, this was probably like $250.
No.
And this is when I was definitely not in the same position as I am in now.
Sure. Hey, it hurts at any denomination. Yeah. I don't care. When you get rivered, it's a gut punch. Yeah. Yeah. It can be brutal.
Yeah. What other strategies do you have? Because the one thing I learned from you that one time we played, Anthony, and it didn't hit me until the end of the game. Anthony would bet the most random amounts at like random times. So like just let's say we're going through, he'll throw in like $14 or like 17, and everyone else is doing like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And he's like $14.
With no limit hold'em, you can do that, see?
Right.
And I love to throw in that random, even in tournaments. Oh, we didn't discuss even you can play tournaments too if you want to get into poker. What's nice about tournaments is the buy-in. Let's say it's a $200 buy-in. That's all you can lose. So you got 20 grand in chips or whatever. Yeah, if you lose that 20,000, it's just tournament chips. You're really only losing your buy-in. And then if you can make it obviously deep in the tournament, the payouts can be huge. So we didn't even touch on that. I was talking about cash games this whole time. That's another way, and you'll see a lot of the top players make very good incomes playing tournaments. And then some other people only play cash games. Yeah. But yes, so even in a tournament, I love to do that. Instead of raising to 3,000, I'll raise to 3,100. If I have, some quarters in there, I'll raise to 3,175. And you can also just say that too. That can be very intimidating. So you can just when it's your turn, right? Instead of, a lot of people just like to put the chips in because they think maybe in their voice there will be a tell. Imagine if your voice it halters or 3175 or quivering. So some people, but I was always able to be like 3175, and I like to use that too because sometimes it makes you look like you're trying to be stronger than you actually are. I'll use it a lot of times when I have a big hand. So I know I've got the person crushed, and I'll just say it, but I won't say it too strong. But just the fact that you even utter the words expressing what your bet is will make people think you're trying to act strong when you're really not. They'll think it's a bluff. So when I say to you, I've been quiet this whole time, and the turn hits, and I go 3175, and I'll say it right to the dealer too. I won't even look at you. I'll go to the dealer so the dealer knows. And without putting the chips in, you can say it, and then you throw the chips in. But you'll say, I look right at the dealer, and I go, 3175. And I'll put it in, but I won't try to be like, 3175. Not too strong, but just the fact that I say it. And so the strategies are endless. You can play so many mind games with people, and that's the really fun part. I've even done things as weird as when I've made a bet, and then... Man, I've played some really sick stuff on people now that I think about it. So I'd make a bet, and let's say now it's your turn to act, and you're thinking about it. Like, I bet, we're in a tournament, and I bet 5,200 on the turn. And now it's your turn to act. I was first to act after the turn, right? So it's on you. And now I'll just go into deep. And let's say 5,000 is a lot of chips at this point in the tourney. So I'll be deep in thought now, and I won't be looking at you. And what I'll do is, if you make a motion towards your chips or something, I'll pretend. I've done this a couple times. I don't know if I'm happy about this, but
Pretend to wince or something.
So I've thrown the cards in like I'm folding. Like, in other words, like I was bluffing and I thought you raised out of the corner of my eye, but I'll do it on purpose. And so you can do. I don't know. This isn't like the best thing to do something like this. But so you'll do what it takes to win. And I'll like fold. And now that's folding out of turn. Like, you're not even allowed to do that.
Right.
So now it'll be like you get the cards back, and now you'd be totally thrown off at this point. You would think like, whoa, Anthony thought I raised, and he was ready to just fold to any raise. He must not have it. And then it's happened a couple times where then I've gotten the money in because the person thought I had nothing, and I've got like a huge hand. So you can get really some crazies. That's one that I'll give away.
Wait a second. Wait, so you could fold before your turn?
Yeah, because it's on you.
Yeah.
So I'm not allowed to fold because I just bet 5,000. So I'm not allowed now to fold until you act. But when I fold out a turn like that, the dealer goes, no, he didn't. And I get returned the cards.
Wow.
And now you think that I was scared that you had raised. But I've only done it when I've seen, like, you would make a motion for your chips or something, and I pretend that I think you just raised. So, like, because I'm like this. And it's like you make a motion there, and I just go, like, fold.
That's crazy.
I've done that. Okay. I mean, that's
we
a good
want
one.
more. We
I don't
want
know.
more.
Yeah, that's me though, being deep in character, and that just came to me. Like, some of these things just happen naturally. It's not like I sat around and planned out like what could I really do other than reading book. That's another reason I would say to read books. You can find out some really cool strategies that are more just like, that's a rare circumstance that I'm talking about. That happened maybe twice in I don't know how many years that I did that. But there are things that you can utilize on a day-to-day basis, like I talked about, switching gears. That's one of the ones I would use every day. You don't want to play aggressive the whole time. You're going to get, eventually they're going to be like, this guy raises every pot. Boom, you're going to get crushed because they're going to know. The same way if you play too tight. Now they know. All they have to do is raise. You're going to fold anything but pocket aces. You can't play like that.
How well do you think Dan Bilzerian plays?
I never played with him.
Yeah.
I've heard about him. I've heard pros say that he was not at the level that he said he was at. I don't know. I would have loved to have at least met him at some point because I think, cool character. But I can't really speak to it, Some people probably try to talk about that they played higher stakes than they actually played. But typically I would say you can tell. Just by talking to a person for, how long have we been talking? I think you can tell,
What do you usually look for to see if they've maybe exaggerated some of their claims?
Probably not knowing like terminology, not knowing like where to play, where to get into some of these games.
I feel like if you're an expert on something, you can tell when someone who isn't an expert is
so.
trying to BS themselves.
Right.
Yeah, maybe
a general rule of thumb.
Have them teach you. Ask them for advice. I taught you a little bit. I remember revving you up one night and just giving you some quick things like, okay, well, if you get in this situation, don't be afraid to do this or fold or do whatever. So if they don't know how to calculate pot odds, like if they're not good at math, that might be, a telltale sign. I was luckily always pretty good at math, so that was good. That definitely helped me a lot. But not that you have to be genius level, but if you can just calculate simple things, and you can find tips and tricks. So if you're not like great at math, you can do things where like all you have to do is calculate percentages, like the 80-20, or let's say we're already after the turn and I put you on a hand. So you got to also be able to do that. But if I put Jack on a specific hand and I know that, well, he probably has 4 outs. Well, if we've already seen the turn, we only have the river to go, multiply by 2, and you can get the percentage of like what he is to win the hand. So if I think he's got like a 2-outer, like I've got him crushed right now, but there are 2 kings left you have pocket kings. There are 2 kings left in the deck. Okay, 2 times 2 times 2 is 4%. So it's like, 4% to river. And people go, how do you know it's 4% to river right there? But that's an easy way to calculate. Is you times 4 for after the flop. So if he's got a 2-outer after the flop, 2 times 4, 8% to win with 2 cards to come in.
It's cool.
This makes me excited. I want to play poker now.
Same. I'm getting hyped right now.
I really want to go to play some poker.
I'm getting hyped.
Let's play. Let's play right now.